This session is called Self-Made and Unstoppable, Outmaneuvering the VC-Funded Rivals. And we are going to dive deep into the mega gig economy, disruption, and the bootstrap hustle. Ooh. All right. I think it's so epic that you guys stayed up the whole night, some of you. You know, you have to take it to just before breaking point. Because I think that just before breaking point is where the magic happens. And that's the best part, is if you can learn to be the tightrope walker of taking it to the next level just before breaking point, but without actually breaking. And that's what you want. Okay, so before we get started, I'm going to hustle some apples. Okay, I'm selling them at R5 each. Very tasty. I know we all want to live healthy. This is not processed, and they're R5 each. Anyone want an apple? I take cards, 100%. The yogurt, sure.
Can we take a look?
Barter, do you barter? I've got a lime for you.
I'll barter. I'll barter for a lime. I'll barter for cell phones. All of it. Why? Why do I have this basket of apples? Because in anything that you learn, everything else is nonsense. Everything else is the fun stuff. But are you willing to sell apples on the side of the road? Because if you are not, you will not make it. Always remember that before you make that phone call, before you send that email, before you send out that marketing campaign, before you walk in to do a presentation with the board, whatever it is, are you willing to humble yourself, drop the ego completely, and try to sell some apples? Because 99.9% of people love the fun stuff. The fancy MBA, the flights to and from, sitting with friends, telling them about how well you're doing, how you're going to be disruptive. That's the glamorous stuff. That's what we want to talk about. That's not business. That's the fancy stuff. But if you are not willing to pick up some apples, go to the merchant, the wholesale merchant, and buy some apples, and get out of your car and start selling apples, and take home 50 Rand. If you're not willing to do that, then the other stuff's not going to even get off the ground. You can have apples for free if you want. Okay, but just always remember that. It wasn't actually part of the talk, but the one guy I work with, we needed to get this one project off the ground. We've been sort of sitting on ice, and he phoned the client, and he begged them to get started. He said, please, you know, we can't be sitting on ice, we have to get this going. And he phoned me and he said, the reason he did that is because he remembered he was willing to sell apples. So he phoned the client and he got it going. Okay, that's a little intro to the intro. Okay, so I am Adi Kaimowitz. I live on the other side of the bay, there in Bloberg Strand. I've got my beautiful wife, we have 5 kids, and I work from home. We used to live in Sea Point, and I started my first business in like my 30s in 2009, and I worked from home, and that lasted a few years, and I was just sort of scraping by. And then LinkedIn destroyed recruitment for recruiters because it was a recruitment business. I used to be the guy that knew all the actuaries. Then LinkedIn knew all the actuaries, so the clients didn't need me anymore. And I had to like pivot, which is the worst thing you ever want to do in your life. Sounds glamorous, but it's the worst thing you ever want to do, because you don't want to have to pivot and drop everything that you did before. But a pivot takes 2 years of trying to come up with ideas. It's not a quick, hey, let's do one meeting. Hey guys, let's pivot. No, it took 2 years, 4 different ideas that I dissected, and then the 5th idea was, Virtual Actuary, which is a consulting firm for actuaries. I'm not going to go too much into Virtual Actuary and the successes we've had, although we're the biggest consulting firm in the country and also the continent. We've got clients all over the world. And it's been very successful, and it is, and we continue to grow and pick up clients overseas. With the rand tanking, it's quite useful because we've got overseas currency where we set the rates in, and so it has worked out quite well. So I'm Adi Kaimowitz from Virtual Actuary, and I work with a fantastic group of people, and they are the success to the business. My job is actually to, like when somebody wants to get something on the top of a shelf, then somebody else gets on their knees and they sort of stand on their back. I'm the guy that's people stand on my back, and so I just lift people up. Okay, so it's very exciting because unfortunately I have hustled pretty hard, and I just love the fact that you guys are also hustling. So I'm sorry for you, but I also feel like I'm in good company. I'm also sorry for myself because nobody actually wants to hustle. It's like the worst thing ever. But if you can kind of get it right and kind of start to plane, as they say, then actually the hustle sort of seems worth it in the end. Okay, so in everything that I'm going to talk, I'm not going to say too much about this because we've got so much to go on about, but in every single thing that I'm going to say today, the goal is to try to survive in business. That's it. That's the goal. Whether it is your department that needs to survive, whether it is a new business that needs to survive, an existing business, the goal is just to survive. So we're going to try and talk about how do we keep costs as low as possible, how do we not get investors that are going to put pressure on, and how can we kind of be the connector that brings it all together just so that we can survive. Okay, so that's the goal. Is just to kind of reprogram the mind instead of all this stuff that you see online. Yeah, they raise so much money, they're on TechCrunch, it's so glamorous. The glamour stuff doesn't work actually. You need to just survive, okay? All right, so self-made and unstoppable. The reason it's self-made is because you don't need investors. You don't specifically have to start a business with other people, okay? And unstoppable because if you get these things right, it's quite difficult for the competition to compete with you because they're not self-made. They have these huge offices, lots of expenses, lots of investors, lots of pressure to give investment return to the investors. They're not self-made. But if you can be self-made, then you will be unstoppable. It's very difficult for them to change course. Okay. And then, of course, there's the whole story with DeepSeek, I think they're called, and how they have beaten or starting to beat OpenAI, which is a great product. OpenAI, of course, humongous funding, and DeepSeek just came in there and just made them all look like idiots, basically. Those investments were oversubscribed for OpenAI. And now what? Think of how much money they've lost now going, they've committed, they've signed. And now this other company comes in. So, outmaneuvering the VC-funded rivals. Okay, because that's really the topic of the week. You want to outmaneuver the people that talk about how they've raised money. Okay, so, of course, this is us fighting the giants. Isn't that what it's about? Come on, I'll take you all on. That is what it's about. I wrote a little book called Slaying Giants in the Mega Gig Economy. And we're going to not talk about the book specifically, although this whole talk today is actually a summary of the book in a way. Okay. So I heard somebody earlier saying, they're going to catch a flight later, and such business people, like me. I always wanted to be a business person. Okay. So, the starting point of the mega gig economy, which is really independent people banding together in a very organized way to be able to become a company. Because we've all heard about the gig economy. Okay? So we're going to go into how the mega gig economy is a consortium of gig economy people that work together, very organized, and they will like be in that consortium forever. So it's not a come and go kind of thing. Okay, so that's the mega gig economy. Now the only reason why the mega gig economy can exist today is because we're in the fourth industrial revolution. Okay, so we're going to go on a little bit of a journey, and hopefully in the end, because there's quite a lot to take in, and I did write some notes. I normally don't write notes, but I thought it's such a long talk today, you might zone out. So if you zone out from me talking nonsense, you can just like read the notes, and that might help a bit as well. So we're going to go on a journey, and we're going to build it up, and hopefully by the end of the session today, you will feel inspired. That's basically it. You'll feel inspired, like a chiropractor will try to redirect your brain to not have to spend money, and that like you can get off the couch and do it. Like that's the goal. That's basically the goal. Okay. If you remember nothing else, just inspiring you that you can take on the giants will be the victory. Okay, cool. So, we are going to deconstruct the fourth industrial revolution. So, the fourth industrial revolution, it's an industrial revolution. It's not a personal or spiritual revolution. It's really about business. Okay? So, what we have over here is a castle with a moat. So the fourth industrial revolution means that this moat, which was what the big companies had, that nobody else could become a big company unless they had super expensive offices and all that kind of stuff. So the moat is gone. We are in the fourth industrial revolution. Okay, so the three pillars of the fourth industrial revolution are unprecedented technological advancements. Anybody with a little laptop and a camera and whatever can start a business, put it online, and become a superhero, and it's like crazy, you know, influencers and all that stuff. So, unprecedented technological advancements, a digital first client and colleague interaction system. So back in the day, you would have to go into an office. Everybody would have to drive into town. So now we can interact with clients and colleagues with like literally, you don't even need a laptop these days. You can just use your cell phone. It's unbelievable. And there is a shift towards a people-centric, employee wellness-focused work culture. So what that means is that back in the day, you were treated like an employee. Okay, now if you're going to run a business or you're going to run a department, you can't tell people what to do. People don't like that anymore. You have to understand that you have to inspire people to do stuff, because they won't take it anymore. They've had it. Because if they don't like you, they will resign. And if you're running a business or a department, it's a people-centric approach, not a boss-centric approach. So you have to just learn to treat people differently, inspire them. If they ask you for something, you basically have to give it to them. But if you can't, you have to try to explain nicely to them why it doesn't make sense. But there's no like telling people what to do anymore, okay? Interesting. Now, why small businesses can now compete with the giants, okay? Because it's so encouraging. Is that before the giants like had the monopoly, we had like the scraps. It's not like that anymore. You know, you would have to go to a bank to get a loan to try to open an office. You don't need that anymore. So, legacy corporations rely on expensive infrastructure and outdated business models. Thank God. Thank God. Not so easy for them to change direction. Modern entrepreneurs leverage cloud computing, remote work, and digital collaboration. Bang! No legacy infrastructure needed. Beautiful. And capital is no longer the primary barrier. Technical literacy and adaptability are. Okay. So it's not about do you have the money to start the business. It is, are you brave enough to start the business? What's your searching on the internet like? Can you go onto some forums and find 4 people that like live in different countries that can start this business with you? They don't have to be equity partners, but they are willing to work with you. Before you know what's going on, you've got a business that's running. People in all different countries. Okay, so now we have the unstoppable rise of mobile and digital workspaces. Smartphones are now more powerful than entire office setups from a decade ago. One little cell phone, much better than than those fancy buildings that we see with all the names on it. One little cell phone can do more than that. Think about that. Imagine before you said, my hands are tied, like, look what they've got. So one little tiny little cell phone beats that immediately. Think about that. Imagine how happy you should be when you wake up in the morning thinking that you are better than that. That's your starting point. If that doesn't put a smile on your face and make you encouraged that you can take this on, it should, okay? Video conferencing has become democratized, accessible to billions globally. We don't meet clients face to face overseas. It's all video. In the early days, sort of like 2017, 2018, when trying to interact with clients, I'd say, hey, let's meet, let's talk about business. No, come and see us. No, let's talk, So I say, okay, well, yeah, you can dial into like our conference room. I was like, no, that's not going to work. The conference room dial-in doesn't work. I'm going to email all of you guys a link to Zoom. It's a brand new program. Just click on it. You don't even need to download anything. Your browser will open. Okay, Adi, we'll try it out. Next minute, they're sitting in this meeting. They can't believe what's going on. It's 1,000,000 times better than their conference room. And we were already talking business. Okay, but of course, in the early days, we had to try to introduce Zoom and that kind of stuff. Now it's a little bit easier, but all right. So the shift from physical office infrastructure to virtual efficiency. So we're just really talking about the 4th industrial revolution, kind of oiling this engine up. Like, where are we at the moment? Where do we hold? Okay, so adapting versus extinction. The new entrepreneurial mindset. Large corporations struggle with agility, while startups thrive on change. The outdated mindset of legacy businesses resembles that of the dinosaurs. Success today depends on willingness to adopt and master new technologies. That's all. Okay? Like the managers that looked at us right at the beginning when we started, they thought, who are these guys? Look at our building, look at our glass corridors. Who's this? Well, we're bigger than them now. Okay, but they can't change so easily. They're kind of like stuck there. Optimizing efficiency, the multi-screen mindset. So at home I have 2 huge, yes?
Hi Eddie, just on that last point around willingness to embrace new technology. Obviously with AI being what it is now, and new AI is popping up every day, how do you know how much is too much?
Thanks, what's your name?
Mukutse. MK.
MK, okay. So it's a great question. I try to not get too anxious about all the new stuff that's getting thrown at me at the moment. I go down to basic principles. So some of the basic principles are not spending too much money, bringing people into your business environment that you can work with that are commission earners. And the tools that we use is just an extra. The tools are not the business. The tools are not the business principles. The tools are not, let's save money. It's just a tool. But you can have the best tools in the world, but if you have the wrong business ethics, then you're nowhere to be found. So the tool, anyone can build a new tool. Beat somebody else who built their whole business around the tool, like OpenAI. What were the business ethics? Driving a $5 million car. I'm not surprised he looks like an overspender at the moment. Hope that answers your question. Okay. What's going on here? Optimizing efficiency, the multi-screen mindset. Right, so I have 2 big screens at home. I used to have 6, but I upgraded to 2 that were bigger. Okay, I think it's so important to be able to do stuff quickly, like sort of like a magician. You guys are maybe a little bit younger, but back in the day there was Inspector Gadget. He opened his thing and he had all the tools. Well, you must be Mr. and Mrs. Inspector Gadget, because that is what it's all about. I mean, if you see some of these videos from like overseas, where they do this sort of like influencer marketing and sort of farms, they've got like 5,000 screens. Epic! If only I knew how to set something up like that, because that is way more next level than just 2 screens. But that's what we're aiming for. All right. A tech-savvy entrepreneur uses multiple screens and integrated tools for speed. Minimizing friction in workflow leads to faster decision making. Imagine you're sitting in a meeting, you got 3 screens open, you got the person in the meeting, the client, you got their LinkedIn page, you got their Twitter page, you got the other guy, the other girl, whatever the case may be. You're like, hey Jacques, hey, you're a marathon runner. Hey, how did you know that? You know what? I get around, I can see. What kind of shoes do you use? Asics. Yeah, I love those. Now you see he's actually a partner in another business that sells other shoes. You go, yeah, but I heard about this other brand called Saucony or whatever. I prefer those. Bang! They're going to sign with you, I promise you. Why? Because you had all these screens open. Are you cheating? Probably. Is everyone cheating? No. Should they be? Yes. Okay. Small strategic tech investments provide exponential productivity returns. So, we spoke very briefly about digital interactions in the 4th Industrial Revolution. We're going to expand on that a little bit more. It's quite important. Okay. And there's a reason we call the business Virtual Actuary, because it will be actuaries consulting from home in virtual and augmented reality. And so it won't really be screens, it will be more sort of, I don't know, those nice, awesome Apple goggles. Those are the best so far, although I hear the Quest 3 is better for gaming. All right. The death of the traditional meeting model. In-person meetings are inefficient and consume valuable time. I literally had somebody the other day that phoned me, they were asking me some things. And unfortunately for my sins, I've been in sales for so many years, and it's all about actually making sales, not just going for fancy meetings. And they were like driving around, meeting clients, driving to meet. I said, what's going on here? I said, I'll tell you what's going on here. You don't even need to tell me, I'll tell you what's going on. You phone a potential client, you're chatting with them, and then you suggest to them, hey, we should get together for coffee. What a stupid thing to say. Because they're going to go, yeah, okay, cool. Why don't you come see me? 1 hour, 30 minutes to get dressed, an hour to drive there, you've got to be early. You meet with them, you have the coffee, it's all fun, they're engaged, they feel important. You drive home, you're probably hungry, it's 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He wasn't getting any sales. In-person meetings are inefficient and consume valuable time. He should have been in this class. Digital meetings eliminate travel delays and reception waiting time. I used to sit in reception areas. I was going to open a business called Reception Buddy. It's a little sort of, what are those things called? You put the money in and the things come out. A vending machine. I was going to open a little vending machine business, for business people that sit in reception areas. Okay. Clients can still be eased into digital interactions when necessary. So sometimes, you know, the thing about a business is that you always feel so sort of on the back foot when you're dealing with a client or when you're dealing with the boss of your department. You know, they tasked you with building this. You go, oh, well, you know, they don't like to do things like this, so I'll kind of fit into their mold. It's nonsense. It's not efficient. Say, well, you know, I don't want to waste your time. Don't have to come and see you. You know, don't want to waste your time. Let's jump on a quick Zoom. So always remember that it's not about being on the back foot and making people happy. Sometimes you have to be a little bit brave to say, you know, I don't think that's the best way we should do this. And then you try and like blame them and say like, I don't want to waste your time.
Would you say that's a blanket statement, that it's always, I mean, is it your view that in sort of business it's always efficient to rather do online meetings? I mean, does it not depend on the type of business that you're in, services versus goods?
Sure.
It's sort of time efficiency, right? But I think there's relationship building, there's sort of other elements. It's almost, feels like you're focusing on the outcome rather than the process. Which is not to say spend time traveling, but I just wonder whether that's true of all types of business.
It's a 95% blanket statement. In some 5% circumstances, it's more efficient. It's better. Of course, it's awesome to connect with people deeply and sit with them and chat with them, and you know. But I promise you now, the meetings that I went to that we sat face to face, we didn't get the business.
Is that general meetings, or are you talking sales, sort of?
Both. Sales, general meetings. You know, some of the things where you can't do face to face is in the production industry, where people have to come in and make product. But generally, take the angel on your shoulder that's saying, but they like to meet in person. It's better. It's, you know, sort of we can connect deeply. And God goes, bang! And bring the other person and let them rather talk in your ear. What I'm saying is, it's not so easy to get out of that mold of, you know, isn't it better to... Efficiency is the name of the game. Making it happen, not wasting your time. If you waste your time, what you'll do is you can teach the clients that they can have just as much fun with you digitally. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Hi. So the approach you are talking about, would you say it's probably better for a one-on-one sort of like engagement? Because now I'm just thinking in a group setting, you have multiple people and it's virtual. Most people tend to just disengage and just disappear because, I mean, it's easier. So would you say like the same approach is applicable to a wider group? Or
Definitely.
But then how do you maintain that engagement just to make sure people stay engaged and, you know, participate? And
it's a good question. So you can only speak for yourself in trying to create the environment. Okay? You can't speak about how they can be more engaged. You can only try to engage them so that they'll like sit up and go, okay, cool, there's something going on here, I should be more engaged. Okay? So how you do that is you dress nicely, you brush your hair, you have a great background, you make it look very professional so that people feel guilty. Wow, this person looks very smart. You know, I better like listen and engage with them a bit more. I don't want to embarrass myself. Look how smart they look. So if you yourself and your background and you've got a beautiful camera and it's very, very sharp, then and people see, wow, that's this person's professionalism and ethics. Look at the way they present themselves. Then they should be more receptive to you engaging with them. And if you are the leader of a team, you should say to your team members, I need you guys to look better. Get people to engage with you a little bit more. So of course, if you're sitting in a group of people where the board is bland, then try to, so if you do nothing, you're going to meet nice, fancy conference areas, and you're going to spend all this money, you're going to fly everybody there, and that business will fail. Unless they've got a pot of money that they can do all these fancy things which is generally the case, that business will fail.
I think that's because I come from an environment where the virtual sort of like engagements, you never really get anything valuable, and you don't really get to the core of the business because people disengage. But in person, you can actually get stuff done because you can cold call it. So what do you think? Okay, come, let's make a decision. We need to agree on this particular thing. Whereas online, I found it really challenging to just get people to finalize and come to some sort of decision.
It's because the person steering the meeting is not doing a good enough job.
So that's me.
So what happens is you say, okay guys, we're here, we've got 45 minutes, enough of the chit chat. Okay, you buy yourself another tablet.
Okay.
You connect it to your computer so that you can use it as a whiteboard. So that you can say, guys, I'm sharing my screen now. Use that as a whiteboard so that all of a sudden you have the whiteboard vibe. Then everyone else's pictures and profiles and video is there. But you're saying, okay guys, it's 12 o'clock now, we're here till 12:45, boom, we have 45 minutes to do this, boom. So you're sharing screens. It's not just you talking, but it's in person. Oh, I've got the screen. Come on guys, I can show you, I can move that thing across, I can cross stuff out. You have to recreate that environment digitally so that people feel engaged.
I'll try it out. I know it works for like smaller teams, 10 to 15, but as soon as you hit 50, it becomes crazy. But I'll try it out.
There's a balance between keeping them engaged and spending a lot of money on stuff. So you're trying to avoid completely spending a lot of money. You don't want to spend any money.
Okay.
But I didn't say it was easy. I just said it's better.
Okay. I know the cold calling does work because people don't know whether you're going to call their name next, or it sort of like forces them to pay attention.
Okay, so you have to recreate that digitally. Yes, Tandi.
So I work in a building where quite literally people can't even come in with devices. So
They can't even come.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
right.
can't. Like when you get to the gate, your devices are taken away.
Okay.
And it's a reality for a lot of people in certain jobs. So not everything can be virtual.
That's the 5%.
Okay.
So fair enough. Like, fair enough. So not everything can be virtual. Fair enough. But the thing about a business like that is, how do you engage with overseas clients without having to fly there? You can't hire anybody locally. Sorry, you can't hire anybody internationally to be part of the team. It's not allowed. So in some circumstances, fair enough. Like, okay, I get it. Like, it's not always possible. But I'm talking about global workforce. I'm talking about global clients. Just trying to avoid, don't worry, we'll fly to Australia to come and sit with you in a meeting. Whereas we've just picked up a whole bunch of clients in Australia the last 6 months. We didn't fly to Australia once. So in some circumstances, I get it. It's your hands are tied. But don't forget, the real boxer is able to win the fight with their hand tied behind their back. And that's why you're here. It's because you want to be a real boxer, not someone who fights fair. You will always have your hands tied behind your back. You have to learn to fight like that, unfortunately. Okay. Reduced operational costs lead to increased profitability and competitive pricing. We've got the best pricing in the country and in the world. Competitors can't compete with us because our proposals come in way cheaper. Okay. Great. That's why we're getting all the business, because we don't have the office space.
Explain your model at that point in time, because I think they're going to find it extremely interesting.
Okay, so the business model is as follows. The other consulting firms, what used to be called the larger consulting firms, which we are bigger than at the moment, they have big office space and they pay everybody that works in the business salaries. Okay? So what you have there for them is two things. This is your normal corporate business. What they have over there is lots of expenses that they have to load onto the proposals. Okay? We're in the services business, actuary consulting services, in insurance and banking, and one or two other sectors, but generally we're selling services, people's time, teams' time, okay? And secondly, everybody's on a salary, which means that whether the project at the end of the month or at the end of the week or whenever you send an invoice, if the client is happy or not, those that work in the business don't care because they're still getting their salary. So what you don't have is somebody going, I'm not going to be able to pay my bond this month if I don't get paid. I better make this work. They don't have that. On our side, we are a virtual business, so we don't have office space. We have a lean business, which means that we can, when we do put out proposals, it's the same quality of proposal at half the price. We just don't have the expenses. But then very importantly, everybody that we're a consortium, of shared revenue participants, which means that the team that is put together, that we put forward for the proposal, when we win that proposal, and of course everyone's on a rate and a charge out rate and so on, when the client pays, we split the money. So everyone's commission only. Mega gig economy. So everybody in that team has a vested interest to do their part. In a very organized way. Of course, there's team leaders and peer reviewers. You'll do this, you'll do that. We sketch the whole thing out. But if that client at the end of the month gets the invoice and they don't want to pay, you don't get your salary. You don't get your commission. Whew. Well, you've got a team that's pretty invested in the success of the project. So what you get, and we give over 82% of the money to the team. So even at half the price to the client, your fee is double what anyone else is paying their actuaries. So you start to attract the best team in the country because we pay the most. Because we're not greedy, we take less of the margin. So what you basically have is a team of what used to be sort of independent actuaries working together. Everybody is a gig economy commission earner that works together in a consortium to then go and act as a business to go get work from what used to be the large consulting firms. And that's globally. So that's like the mega gig economy, and we will go into it.
Talk about the date of payment. Please, sorry.
Oh yes, so and also you only get paid when we get paid. So if we don't get paid, you don't get paid. This thing has a mind of its own. So you only get paid when we get paid. So what that means is that the business has to negotiate good payment terms with the client. Otherwise, you're going to wait too long to get paid. And it's too risky, you're not going to want to work with us. But then we change the payment terms from 30 days after invoice to 7. So we de-risk the whole thing.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? That's one of the most important aspects of the model. Just think about the implications of that. And if the client is not prepared to do that, then we don't take the job.
Because I promised the client the best team in the country that's invested at half the price. You better pay within 7 days. Otherwise we walk away. Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation so far. So in your model, the actuaries that you're working with, I'm assuming these are qualified actuaries, and these are people who are holding jobs elsewhere, so they only work for you full time. Okay, so how do you deal with the implications of maybe statutory requirements like your payee, maybe social security deductions and so forth? Then the other question I had is where I come from, you might not necessarily, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying you actually don't have office space. So in my country, Zimbabwe, the regulator is actually pushing for a law where external actuaries, every actuary actually should have an office through which, if they've got queries about the work that they've done, they can reach them, which is domiciled in the local country. If you face that, how are you dealing with that? And also, I would assume some clients would prefer to deal with someone that is in office, someone that they can physically meet, particularly the corporates who themselves also have these large offices.
Okay, some great questions. Okay, as far as the PAYE and the statutory and statutory requirements, so what happens is, according in South Africa, even though somebody is a full-time contractor and they run a business, let's say, CCs are not really existent anymore, they don't send us an invoice. We pay them in a personal capacity as a contractor, and because they don't hire 3 people that they pay PAYE for that are not related to them, okay? SARS terms them, according to Practice Note 35, a PSP, a personal services provider, unless they have 3 people that pay PAYE for. So if they are PSP, we have to hold back the 29% PAYE and pay it on their behalf to SARS every single month. Okay, they just get a slightly different RP5, but they do get like a salary slip of sorts, but we pay the PAYE for them. Okay, then as far as the office space, so no, we don't have office space, but everybody works from home. So their domicile would be their home address. Okay, and then as far as clients that, I want to see your office space, no problem. So dear Mr. Client, this is how it works. Everybody, even if it was in the same country, everybody works from home. The reason we can give you the best prices in the country is because everybody works from home. If you're happy with that, you're welcome to come and visit our headquarters, or with pleasure. Everybody works from home. If you're happy with that, we will give you the best pricing in the country with the best team in the country, and your overall project will be a success. If you insist that the only consulting firm you're willing to work with has to have fancy offices, then go spend your money on other consulting firms that are going to charge you way too much. They're going to have a disengaged workforce, and your projects will not be as successful as if you work with us. You have to teach and coach the clients that either they need to get with a program and spend less and have projects that succeed, or they must carry on blowing their money on consulting firms that have outdated business models. You can't make everybody happy. I'm giving you a great deal. If you don't want to go for it, we don't want you as a client. Not to be too harsh, but it's a very harsh world out there.
Okay, so in terms of the complexion of your clients, do you have more of the large insurance entities, or it's
the largest insurance companies in the country, the largest banks in the country? We're the #1 consulting firm in the country. We have coached and steered those consulting firms to change their terms of business, their payment terms, and to accept our business model as the future of consulting. We have swept the market. Promise you it's possible. Just have to say it in a nice way to them.
The one guy, sorry, I'm butting in here just with nonsense, but the one guy's got his office on PP Island in Thailand, on the beach, because that's what he chose. He's in a shack near the beach, that's where he lives, and the background's the beach on PP Island.
It's a new world.
He works 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
10 hours a day.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, I want to ask, I think that approach is very bold, and like, it really resonates with how I sort of interact with my director. Like, we take on work that's just, like, the client has way too much power, they're like almost abusive to a point. And I'm like, you know, for lack of a better word, like stop being a bitch and like stand up.
You
tell him, David. I want to know, how long did it take you to get to the point where you could demand those terms? Because it takes like you know, quite a bit of confidence, like almost arrogance in a business sense to like do that.
So it's a lot easier these days to say that in a nice way and to be slightly more forceful.
Yeah.
Okay. In the early days, when we were totally on the back foot, and it came to that meeting where I tried to explain to the clients that we were going to give them a better deal. But then you have to try to sell apples. And be super humble and say, look, Jacques, look, Tina, I'll be honest with you. I've got this team here, and I have to pay them on time. They can't be waiting for their money. And there's only like 5 of us, and we will do that project that you need done. But if I lose them because they feel that they're not going to get paid, you're not going to get them, okay? And I can't afford to lose them because they're all I got. So either you're going to sign with us and you're going to agree to paying us early and making this happen, Tina, or I can't take you on as a client because I need a client that will pay us on time. You know, unfortunately, what I can't have, Tina, is not getting paid on time. So I'm going to leave it with you, Tina. You come back to me. But we're going to be hustling for other work because as soon as we get signed, the team's going to be full up on it. So either come back to me, Tina, or we're not going to be able to do business for you, unfortunately. So you just say it in a super nice way, humble yourself, beg her for the work, try and explain to her why it's so important to get paid on time, and just like hustle. You have to. You can't afford, hold on. We're going to move on, okay, and we're going to catch up with this. Okay, I want to take yours and yours, but we're going to catch on. Okay, so there's a lot to cover, and once you've got a bit of a broader idea of like what we're talking about, because I always seem to like over-prepare, we could easily go on for 5 hours, there's no doubt about it. Okay, so.
Relax.
The new power of social media in business. Platforms like Instagram and LinkedIn create modern business relationships. Remember, we are talking about digital interaction. We don't have to fly to symposiums and conferences overseas. Platforms like Instagram and LinkedIn allow us to find global clients, interact with global clients. It's kind of like going to a conference without spending the money, okay? Engaging with clients' personal lives strengthens professional connections. So when I first started the business, I opened an Instagram page and then I put all the actuaries in there because I had their contact details, and I was able to like their posts when they went fishing, and I was able to like their posts when they went to the market, and I was able to like their posts when their child did a ballet rehearsal, whatever. You know, I was able to like their posts and like their posts and like their posts, and they were like, what is this virtual actuary liking all my posts? And then they would like go and they would Google us, and then they would find us, and then the whole market knew about us. Industry connections now evolve into meaningful partnerships over time.
Thanks. I'm just picking up on you liking the likes. I'm thinking you have managed to build a strong team. That is how you are able to have everyone working remotely. So maybe can you share some insights in terms of what you have done differently in terms of bringing all of these professionals from all over the world to assist you?
It's a great question. So we've told a great story. We're going to go in at a cheaper price. We're going to get all the clients, and you are going to get most of the money, and you can work as remotely as you want. It's just about telling a great story and living that out. It's just about telling that story. Do you want to just quickly ask your question as well?
I was going to say, the reason why that system works is not because you're being kind or you're being blackmailing the client, it's because you provide quality service.
Yes.
So as soon as they have quality service, you can meet them in a car park.
Yeah, 100%. So you have to follow through. So I'm bluffing. I'm going to give you the best actuaries at the best price. You're going to be super happy. So they go, oh, geez, okay, this better flip and work. I told my procurement to change the payment terms. And then after one month, 2 months, they're getting the best service at the best price, and they're like going to their boardroom, I did it all, yeah, sure, look, I fixed these projects, yeah, that's right, okay, so we had to pay a bit early. I told you I was right. So I never make the clients look like idiots. You have to deliver. And that's it all goes back to choosing the right team. Okay, reinventing business networking for the digital age. Remember, we're talking about how digital interactions in the fourth industrial revolution is what it's all about, okay? LinkedIn has disrupted the need for physical networking events. Online conferences provide the same insights without travel and logistical hassle. While it's awesome to travel, it's not efficient. Okay, it's all about survival and efficiency. Hybrid models, watching virtual events with teams can maximize engagement. So if you're saying, the team doesn't want virtual, there's this conference, we got to fly there. Okay? It's a lot of money to fly everybody there. So what you do, you go to a local hotel. You go and you set up your thing and you watch the conference live from South Africa. And everybody in your team sits here. You have a vibe, you've got biltong, some food and cheese, and it's like a local event. It's like sort of hybrid virtual, but you didn't have to pay for the flights. But it's still in person. Hybrid virtual. Cool. So there is a way to sort of meet halfway, make it a vibe. Yeah.
So I definitely agree that it could be possible, but do you not think, and this is like personally speaking, right? I've been invited to some conferences, I'm sure a lot of people have been invited to conferences over here. The virtual ones don't seem to draw that professional a crowd or yield that tangible, sort of meaningful relationships and connections.
Mm-hmm.
We're still in this environment where personal connections happen face to face. Do you not think that the potential of sort of the engagements that we're going to be making are better face to face, and the engagements that you see at these virtual events are just like surface level and let's have a meeting, let's catch up, let's do this, whatever, and nothing ever materializes out of this?
Okay. So it is much nicer to meet face to face at an event. Way more engaging. Cool. As somebody who gets flown by their business to go, you prefer it. 100%. But if you're the boss paying the bill, and the person that works with you is saying, it's not the same, it's not lacquer, I'm going to say, okay, come Joshua. You see that person over there? We're not going to go to the event, but I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how we can do this. You see that person who did go to the event, they tagged everybody that they met. Okay, cool. I want you to have firstly an awesome LinkedIn profile, and I want you to connect with every single person there. Then I want you to spend the week going through any posts or any comments that they've made, and I want you to comment on their comment. And I want you to create a rapport with that person. Then I want you to start engaging with that person and say, hey, by the way, Tina, I see that you were at that conference and you guys are involved. Hey, that's so awesome. Like, one of my hot topics. I love it. And I want you to message them. I want you to find her on Instagram. And I want you to engage with her posts. And I want you to do that for a year. And then let's talk in a year whether the connections that you've made are slightly more real. But I want you to put more effort in than me flying you to an event that's going to cost me a lot of money. Because if you can do that with me, we can survive as a business and we can grow together. But if you're not willing to do that and you insist on going to a conference that I have to pay for, I can't have you working with me because I can't just be blowing money like that.
But then weigh up the costs of a year's hours of going through people's posts, doing everything that you said you were going to do, right?
Yeah.
Which I definitely think it can be done, right?
Yeah.
But you're working with such a high level of salary right now, right? You're working with professionals where time is money.
Yeah.
So flying them out to a conference it's going to cost you 10 Gs, right?
Yeah.
And how many hours is that person going to be spending researching LinkedIn, commenting, all these things? Is that not worth more than 10 Gs? Pay the flight ticket, get the introduction,
So,
make it work.
So, you make a compelling point, but I'll just put it like this. That 10,000 Rand that I'm going to send you plus the 5,000 Rand for the hotel, which is actually 15.
Yeah. Plus 5K on drinks, 20.
20 grand. That's just one little event. Just one little event. How many events do you want to go to, Joshua, this year? 5, 6, 7, 8. Where does it end?
Yeah.
The spending never ends.
100%.
The mindset is, forget about the spending. Please, I want you to be a better professional. Let's make it a habit to engage with our potential clients online. It's not about the hours that you're spending, it's about you engulfing yourself in a lifestyle of engaging with business online. I'm not forcing you to, it's not work when you're engaging with them.
No, 100%.
It's a lifestyle of engaging with business online. I want to show you that if we do this together, in 3 years' time, we'll take over this market together. I don't want you to feel forced. I want you to see that it's for your own interest to start engaging with people online. I know you like the fun stuff. I also like the fun stuff. But I don't want to have to bring an investor into the business who's going to tell me that I'm paying you too much. I'd rather take that 20 grand, just give you a bonus right now, cash. Go build a pergola over your swimming pool. Here's your cash. Don't worry about the conference. Improve your lifestyle.
No, 100%. But I do think that there's an argument to be had for a hybrid approach. To definitely have the online presence that you say you're going to have,
sure,
but also the face-to-face that keeps that human connection. But I definitely agree with that point.
100%. All I'm trying to say is when you have 65 people that work in your business, 20 times 65 times 10 events or 5 events a year, there is the business. It's fun, but it's not do or die. One quick question and then we're going to push on.
Yeah, just further on to Josh's sort of argument. Yes, go for argument's sake, it's 20 grand for the event, but you're not going there just to meet with one customer, or one potential customer. You're going there and you're going to set up 6, 7, 8 meetings with 8 potential customers. So it's not just 20 grand for one customer. You could potentially expand your customer base.
100%. Okay, look. So when you go to that event, we are going to connect with every single person that you've tagged in your post. So we're also going to connect with that person. And we're going to be engaging with them on posts. And I'm also going to form a connection with every single person that someone else's worker and colleague connected with. We just didn't spend the money on the conference. So we're also going to do that. We're just going to do it smarter without spending the money. So it is nice. It is fun. The whole mindset is.
It's not about the fun aspect.
It's not more. It's
the relationship building.
It's a fallacy. It's a fallacy. Even though it doesn't seem like that, it's a fallacy. I promise you, I've got people that I've connected with online that I've never met in my life. But the reason why we have a deep connection is because I have put the effort into nurturing that relationship. Because I see the digital interactions as powerful. Whereas at the moment, you don't see them as powerful. You think that you think that face-to-face is better, so you will treat the virtual engagements as less than. You have to change that mindset. You have to convince yourself that the virtual engagements are just as powerful, because when you believe that yourself, they will become more powerful. But I think there
definitely has to be a balance. Like, I'm not saying one's less than the other. I think they're both just as valuable, and I completely agree with you that you can do everything online. But I think, and we saw through COVID, everyone was working remotely, and yeah, that was great. But now everything is starting, like, people want to be engaged with other people.
Sure.
They want to see, shake a hand and see split face to face.
I agree. But when you're the one spending the money, because let's forget, it's not about being an employee or a worker where someone else spends the money for you. You're spending the money yourself. So what I'm just trying to reboot here is...
You're charging that to the customer?
Sure. Of course you're charging that to the customer. You're putting it on the proposal. But the reason your proposal's not getting accepted is because Adi and his team put a much cheaper proposal in. So at the end of the day, the fancy offices and the conferences that you think you're going to load onto the client fee, it's a losing strategy when an efficient team comes in.
So I'm gonna argue.
It's cool. I don't mind.
I think it's a good debate. I think, yeah. So when you're going to a conference, it's not to bring on customers. It's to show a physical presence, which is very valuable.
Yeah.
So you want to be present in the space that you're in.
Yeah.
And then yes, that's just to show your presence, but you can do everything else remotely.
Well, some of our competitors that also make software, because we also have quite a huge software arm, they went to the conferences and they had a stand and they made awesome connections. And their businesses are closing down because they spent all their money. Now they're under pressure and those clients never signed anyway. Whereas we kept it lean, kept it smart, engaged with clients, did a virtual presentation of our software. Those clients are signing with us. They spent the money. They thought it was better to be face-to-face. They spent all their money, they're out of business now. We're going to move on. Okay, so how we treat our co-workers. Okay, we're going to zip it along. Yes.
The class is asking for just like a 5 or 10 minute body break.
100. Sure. Is 100%. Do you want to start? Here you go.
You promised me to take my question. So my question is a follow-up question from what Lynette initially asked. I think you've touched a bit on it, but primarily it's about culture in its entirety. So from what I've seen, I come from Kenya, and I know you said you can't make everyone happy, but I'm just trying to work it out in my mind in terms of what I run. So my friend and I run a B2B business, right? So what we've seen over time is that perception, and I can call it culture to some extent, really plays a very big part, especially when you're approaching some of these big clients. So some of them will ask you that basically they'll tell you they want to see a physical office. They want to give you a physical office before they give you business. And it's sort of like a check-off, right? And a tick-off for them to ensure that you have a physical space, it looks fancy, etc. Now, my question is, I'll talk about qualifications also. So you'll find that for them to pre-qualify you, meaning that even before you enter through the door, they need to check you off on those items that I mentioned earlier. Yeah. So do you think, or what are your thoughts about culture, different cultures that is, in relation to remote working or that kind of business model? Because I feel like in some cultures, they're still very stuck up and they won't, there's no shift towards, the new ways of working.
So it's a great question. So what I think is that if some things are immovable, then see if you can find a shared office location where you don't have your own office, but there is a reception and there is a boardroom that you can use.
That's a good one.
Okay. But then if that is like the only expense you have to have, then okay. Then don't go to conferences and try to save money. And then someone else says, you need software, CRM, you need this, you need that. So try not to. So the general rule is don't spend any money. Okay, that's the general rule. But if you are forced to spend money, then try and do it without spending too much money. I get it. Sometimes it's impossible. I understand that. Just try to. Okay, so now you got the office space. Well, we need a sign. So it doesn't end. So don't be held prisoner to norms.
Sure.
Rather go and get newspaper articles in FinWeek, Financial Mail, MoneyWeb, BizNews, and say to the client, let me show you the product, and then let them look online for your credibility. You need to teach the clients to not work in the norm. Okay, we're going to actually jump ahead to the mega gig economy. We actually jumped over like 4 or 5 slides, but I've brushed over a topic which I'm going to show you a quick little video to like wake you up, okay? And it is disruption. We're not going to talk about disruption, but I'm going to show you a video, but I'm going to give you an overview of disruption. So, you know, they say, oh, they're disrupting the fintech space. Whew, yeah, you know, look at this. I mean, they haven't even got like one client, they haven't done anything, but they're a disruptor. It's total nonsense, okay? You have to prove that you're a disruptor by making it impossible for your competitors to make any money. You've disrupted their ability to make money. AI, the big disruptor, was disrupted within the first year. They weren't really a disruptor. Okay, so what is disruption? Disruption is finding a different way to engage with your environment, which the people that were doing it before cannot compete with unless they completely change the way that they're doing it. That's real disruption. Okay? A quick example is windsurfing was disrupted by kite surfing. So instead of a big board and a longer mast and a bigger sail, they change how they engage with the environment. They use lines and a harness and a kite and a smaller board. Windsurfing can't compete with kite surfing. Kite surfing disrupted windsurfing. You know, those who can't carry the big board can carry a small kite and a small board. So they got into kite surfing. So kite surfing disrupted windsurfing. So if anybody ever talks about disruption, you have to understand that the methodology and the way that you do business and the way that you do something has to be so much better than how it was being done before that the competitors can't just quickly change it. Okay, so I'm going to show you a quick video and then we're going to move into the mega gig economy. Let's see if this works. This is from a talk I did in America in like 2019, but it is a great video. Let's see if we can get it first. Okay. So, when it comes to the fourth industrial revolution, when it comes to business models, when it comes to can your new business beat the giants with the old business models. What we hope for is to disrupt the norm, disrupt the giants, the same way as kite surfing disrupted wind surfing. The mega, in my opinion, the mega gig economy is going to disrupt the normal corporate world. Okay? And what that means is that a group of professionals that work in a mega gig economy consortium should, in theory, and I guess we proved it in practice, should be able to outperform, outcompete, and steal market share away from the larger consulting firms that were the giants of days gone by, because they are true disruptors in the methodology and the way that they approached business. So we move over to Lawrence's favorite topic, the mega gig economy, and this is a consortium, a new business model for a new era. And that's what virtual actuary is. A consortium, everyone's full-time. They're just incentivized to work better, smarter. Okay, why traditional business models fall short? Large corporations offer stability but come with bureaucracy, high overheads, and limited profit sharing. Small boutique firms replicate corporate structure but with added financial risks for founders. So the difference is a small boutique company is still a corporation, even though they're smaller. They also have office space. Everyone's also on salaries. That's not different, you're just smaller. You're still a corporation. Independent professionals struggle to scale without taking on costly overhead. So what we're talking about is the three different business models. You're a large corporation, you're a small boutique corporation, or you're an independent gig economy person. That's generally all we know. So now we want to start a business, or we want to improve our department, and they say, well, how are we going to do that? Okay, let's say you want to start a business. We need to hire, we need to bring people in. Okay, so if you want to bring people in, then you're a small boutique business. People that are going to be shared equity partners. You're a small boutique business. If you're an independent, because you don't want to bring in other equity partners or hire staff, you're an independent, but you can't scale. You can't be large. That's generally what we know. You either open a small business or you're an independent. That's all we know. Well, what else is there? Okay. So there's the mega gig economy, where you're an independent but you work in a consortium. Okay. Traditional structures favor employers over employees, limiting individual financial upside. So that's generally what's out there. Okay, so the power of the consortium model. So what we're going to talk about is trying to understand what is the consortium mega gig economy. Because if we're going to open a business or we're going to run a business or whatever it is, you don't have to pay salaries and you don't have to have equity partners. You want everybody that's there to be a participant that is a commission earner. Let's leave the equity story off the table, the discussion. It's not necessary. It's a meritocracy. Everybody earns their right to be there. You do well, you'll do better. Okay. The power of the consortium model. Professionals band together under a shared business entity, pooling skills and resources. They operate with corporate level professionalism, but without corporate overheads or rigid hierarchies. Sounds good in principle, but hopefully we'll unpack it, okay? The revenue sharing model ensures those doing the work receive the majority of the profits. So in the mega gig economy, what we actually have is professionals, everybody. So the task of any business is to get a paying client. So we're not going to go into the complexities of building a product, because that's also, there's participants, but there's there's consumables, there's the products to build the main product. But let's just look at like services. So it's a bit easier to look at a shared revenue model. We say, in a normal business, this department has an outcome. And that outcome is that the client's going to pay. They get a service. Everyone is normally on a salary. But the outcome is the same. So let's say I say, okay, I can't pay you the salary. Let's form a mega gig. Let's form a consortium. We're going to go get that client. And that client's going to pay. And when that client pays, we'll split the money. Ding! That sounds good. I want to split the money as well. My boss just bought a BMW. He's not splitting the money. The owner of the business drives a Ferrari. I'm not an idiot. They're not splitting the money. It's because you're not in a shared revenue model. Cool. So, the power of the consortium model. Okay, professionals band together with professionalism. Right. Building high performance collaborative. Okay. Because what a consortium is it's a collaborative of business professionals. So how do you do it? The key to success is fair work distribution. Favoritism can break the system. So if I say to a group of people, let's band together. Let's go get that client. We will split the money. It sounds romantic. But where it can go, so if it's fair, okay, it means we get the client, we split the money. We get the client, we split the money. Someone else comes in, we bring them in, You have to be able, for the success, there has to be a fair work distribution. So if you're going to run a consortium, you have to understand that if there's going to be favoritism, where these 3-4 people get most of the work and most of the money, that's favoritism. That's not a fair work distribution. So what I'm trying to explain to you is how we treat those that are in the consortium. Everybody has to feel that it's fair. Okay?
Right, I just want to confirm, are these professionals the same profession?
Yes, so in most cases, let's say it's engineers that understand that the client that's going to pay is they are looking for a bridge to be built. And that client needs a consulting firm of engineers. So we are engineers that band together, that pitch for that work, but instead of us being salaried engineers that work for a big boss, we're a consortium of engineer professionals. We work as a team, and then we split the money when the client pays. Now, if you want to get fancy, you can say that part of that project is also software. So a software developer is part of the shared revenue team, but they're not an engineer. So it has to be a very organized team that splits the money, but yeah. So it's not always exactly the same skill.
Just trying to think on on a scalable, in order to scale. So say you create this consortium of 4 partners that they bring on a customer, you split the revenue, bring on another customer, split the revenue, but you still 4 people. Those 4 people can only take on so much at the same time. So how is that scalable if you're not going to build a team underneath you?
So those 4 senior people are just the first 4 people in. Doesn't mean that they're specifically more senior than anybody. It's a meritocracy. You have to become more senior. So as the next client comes in, the management of the business that is sort of splitting the fairness, they have to bring another person in that's going to work in that team. Sometimes it's somebody at the same level as the original 4, and very often it's people that are more junior. So what happens is now that client needs a team of 3 people, but they don't need 4 senior people. So that manager, that one of those 4 now becomes the manager. They don't need to work 160 hours on that project, but I will quickly bring 3 new participants in that are more junior. Okay, and we're going to close the deal with the client. Okay, and that manager is going to split the profit with the company. So not to get too complicated, but 82% of what that client pays the team goes to those 3 juniors, let's say, because they're the ones working flat out.
82%.
About 82%. And then the company will split the 18% with the manager to make it worthwhile for that manager to not just focus on their 160 hours on one client, but maybe do 120 hours and spend 40 hours managing teams so that they themselves can scale themselves. Okay. Strong team building ensures the right skills are available for each project. Well, that basically answers your question. It's all about the strong team building, because you're building a business. You want to get more clients. So instead of, oh, we got these 2 clients, let's go on a vacancy drive, let's go on a hiring drive, let's hire people. Come on, HR, bring more people in. So it's kind of the same thing, but instead of the people that you bring in are salaried employees, they are commission earning participants. You still need a very, 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 very strong team building initiative, because you're trying to scale as a business.
But then, so you're only bringing on consultants when you get a new client. How do you guarantee the quality of your consultants if you're not paying them an ongoing salary? It's only on commission. If you lose a customer for a month, you lose that consultant.
It's a great question.
You lose a consultant, you lose the quality.
That's a great question. So what you have to do, you have to make sure that there's enough work coming in, that the work never dries up. Okay? So everyone's on a commission. I don't want to lose the team. I have to make sure that there's enough work coming in so that the team don't want to leave, because we want to get that momentum going. The best team, the best team, the best team, the best team. We have a 1% staff turnover rate a year. Our competitors have a 35% staff turnover rate, because we've got so much work coming in that those people don't ever have to worry about no work being available. On the other side, even if they're on salaries and I can't bring the work in, let's say you're the business owner, everyone's on salaries. So if they commission participants and you don't have work coming in, they might resign. I don't have work for you. Okay? But if they're on salaries and you don't have work coming in, you're bleeding money. It's even worse. Always have to make sure you have enough work coming in, whether they're salaried employees or commission participants. Okay, so while the consortium model wins in a changing world, isn't that the question? Isn't that the question, yeah?
Yeah, I do have a question about it. On the consultancy side, I think legislation is that if a consultant can't earn all the income from a single employer, because then they're no longer a consultant, they're working for the company.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get around that? Does the clients pay the consultant who's worked for you? Do they pay your business? And then has a consultant then got other forms of income to justify his role as not a direct employee?
So, I don't specifically believe that if somebody's getting 100% of their work from you, that they are still not a contractor, consultant. Okay? I think that it was an excuse that was used back in the day, whether you should hold back PAYE or not. Well, it's the 80-20 rule. I don't work for you more than 80% of the time. You don't have to hold back my PAYE. So practice note 35 completely changed that. It wasn't about the 80-20 rule. Okay. So if somebody works for you 100% of the time, they can still be a consultant. But they're a commission earning consultant. If I've got so I'll book you out for a year. The next project that comes in, I'll book you out again for a year. So the legislation is actually just that. Do I have to pay your PAYE or not? Okay.
Right.
Cool. So while the consortium model wins in a changing world, okay. So there's no dependency on office space, reducing fixed expenses and risk. It enables actuaries, in our case, to scale without taking on the burden of hiring full-time staff. So that's actually the key here. You want to open a business. You want a consortium. You want that business to grow. You've got engineers, or you've got designers, or whatever it is. So the key is to say to that actuary, that accountant, that engineer, listen, if you work as an independent person, let's be real here. It's just you. You can only do 160 hours a month. You can only do 200 hours a month. It's just you. So how's this for a deal? Let me lay the carpet out for you. I'm going to bring clients in, and you do 120 hours on the one client. But then in those 40 hours, I want you to manage the teams. And I will pay you to manage those teams. Excuse me. In that way, you can scale. And eventually, you won't do 120 hours, you'll only do 80 hours on the one client. And you'll spend the other 80 hours managing teams. And eventually, you'll spend 160 hours of your month just being a super manager. But we're going to share and split the profit of those teams with you. It's an instant partner model. And it means that as we go into Malaysia and Australia, you will become an instant partner manager overseeing other juniors that are working underneath you. And if you break your leg, you still have teams that are working underneath you. That is true ability to scale. And that's the whole story here. Really. That's the whole story here. Is in the gig economy, which is so popular. You're an entrepreneur, you're hustling. It's just you. And something happens to you, it's just you. There's no ability to earn an income. But if you want to scale, you have to hire people and pay salaries, generally. And that means that you're a small boutique business. But if you can't bring the work in, you're stuck with the salaries. Inevitably, people don't scale. They become independent consultants forever. They try and get their fee as much as possible. They can't pitch for huge projects. It's just you. But if you form a consortium, mega gig, those independent professionals become managers, overseeing teams. And as it grows and grows, and you bring more clients in, and the managers earn a lot of their money, or most of their money, from teams that work underneath them, that they are nurturing, and they take responsibility for that client. It's your typical consulting firm model. The seniors oversee the juniors. Typical consulting firm model. The only difference with a mega gig consortium to a normal large consulting firm, you're on a salary. It's like a whip. Work harder. Gwa. Where's the profits? Gwa. They resign. Find someone else. Make it happen. Gwa. By that Monday morning, by the end of the year, you're chasing these hectic targets. You're completely burnt out. And you got, congratulations, you got an 8% bonus. Woo! Lekker. Go to Thailand on holiday. Next year, 5% increase on revenue from last year. You're a salaried slave. Waka. And the shareholders got all the money. That's why they have a 35% staff turnover rate. Mega gig consortium. Don't worry about targets. Let's go out there, folks. Let's get those clients. And we're going to talk as managers, and we're going to secure that work. And then I'm going to be the recruiter, and I'm going to bring somebody that's going to help you with that work. And you're going to teach them. And as soon as they know what's going on, they're going to run with that. You'll be able to pull back a bit and move over to this next client and oversee them. And then you're going to be overseeing all these teams with dashboards and advanced software. The mega gig economy consortium eventually is so efficient as a lean business that the mega gig economy consortium takes over from the corporate consulting firms because they cannot compete. Should I do like a spin? Sorry, you had their hand up. Yeah,
Definitely Constantine at the, Constance at the back.
Yeah.
Yes, my name is Constantine.
Can be. Yeah.
Look, I like the idea, but I would like to find out what are the challenges that you face with such a model?
So it's the next slide, and we're going to go into all of that. 100%. I'm definitely going to break it up. Okay? And then one quick question, and then a half a question, and then we're going to go down.
So I just kind of want to understand to what level does the profit sharing happen? Because it sounds like you've got a hiring team like on the lower level, and you're doing the profit sharing on the management level. So in my opinion, if I understand correctly, you still have an overhead or like a fees structure within your lower levels of your structure, right?
Okay, it's a great question. Okay. So, like all complicated businesses, it's a complicated answer. All right, so follow me on this. So the general theme is we will split 82%. 82% of the money will go to the team. Now, the mid-levels and the juniors, they don't specifically get 82% of the money, but we still give them double or triple what they get anywhere else. And we have to incentivize the managers. So we have to create efficiencies in the work that we're doing. So the mid-levels and the juniors, like every other consulting firm, is where consulting firms make most of their money. The mid-levels and the juniors don't really care about splitting the money or making money. They just want to be nurtured correctly, given an opportunity to become superstars. That's actually what their focus is. Okay, they're not chasing the money. So we'll pay double or triple what everyone else pays, okay? But of course you do charge out more than the 18%. So most of the margin will always, in any consulting firm, ever, IT, whatever, happen on the juniors, okay? But when those managers and the software team is able to create efficiencies in the fees that we're paying the juniors or themselves, and what we're charging out, don't forget the client's still getting half or a third or a quarter of what they would pay everyone else. They're happy. But if we can do the work in an efficient way with advanced software, then we will split that efficiency with the software team, with the managers, and with some of the other managers. So everybody is incentivized to work as a solid team. So we have a very advanced, sort of like a vitality type incentivization splitting model, that the team understands what the goal is. To give a great service, great product to the client, create efficiencies, pay everybody more than they would get paid everywhere else, and have a super happy client. And then there will be efficiencies there. That's where you make most of your money, in the efficiencies. Okay?
Yeah, I was just wondering, so you've got these commission earners that are your frontline man or woman in front of your customer. What's kind of stopping them from replicating your business and finding their own customers?
That's a good question.
Beautiful question.
Okay. So, one of the reasons we started with the fourth industrial revolution, to understand how you can be more digital, one of the reasons why we spoke about not going to conferences to save money, is because if you create these efficiencies, and if you get great stories online and you're connecting with industry professionals overseas digitally, if you do that right, for anybody that is in the family, the consortium, it's not just like a platform that you register with. It's like a family. We all move forward as a consortium. If you do that seamlessly, then the juniors will get nurtured like superstars because you'll have all these overseas clients. That's what people want. We will pay everybody significantly more than market norm. We'll have a 1% resignation rate a year instead of 35%, which means that balls aren't getting dropped everywhere. So there isn't all this hectic pressure and having to work overtime and trying to save the project because somebody resigned. So the work environment, if you get this all right, is seamless, and everybody's working from home, they're having families, their families are growing, they're working from not Stellenbosch, they work all over, they live all over the country. It's a fantastic lifestyle business for actuaries and consultants. Very romantic story, actually. You will be happy. But if you've been brought into our beautiful story and you don't think that that is the gold standard, I'm sorry. I haven't shown you that we're the future of your industry. And if you want to leave, there will always be a restraint of trade in that person being able to work with current clients. There will always be a contractual restraint of trade in a manager coming in and stealing all the consultants and so on. There will always be a restraint in some of the IP that they've been working on, always. They don't always enforce it. But if you want to go on your own and you feel you can recreate it, like, I actually wish you success. I want to be inspired by you. I want you to come and come take us on. Cool. Like, I wish you well. But inevitably, what happens when those people leave is they don't succeed. They'll end up going to conferences and spending all their money. They'll end up going and forming overseas partnerships. Bad decision making. And what eventually happens is they don't get the clients. People aren't happy. So how you avoid people from leaving? You have to create the best possible vibe you can. And if they want to leave, there's nothing you can do. But of course there's restrictions. You can't avoid it, but you have to be the disruptor that is so good that you're like being creative in the direction that the industry is going, so that the story continues to be more amazing year after year. So you don't rest on your laurels, and you don't just leave it as is to let somebody else make it better. You just keep on making it better. And you hope that you just leave everybody in the dust so much that if somebody does leave, they're not even an afterthought, because you're doing so brilliantly that they can't even try to compete. So that's the answer. Okay. Virtual Actuary, a case study of an organized collaborative. Okay, so this answers your question. How did we get a bit more into it? So what we created is a peer review. It's a bit small. There was a much bigger screen in the last conference room we were in. But as I say, I normally don't put text, but I figured some people stayed up last night. And if you want to read, you can read. Okay, cool. If you can. But as I say, I normally don't put the text. It's normally only a 2-hour talk. So I figured if you zone out of me, you can try. Zoom, if you've got one of those new fancy cameras, you can zoom in quite far. Okay, so we created a peer review system, and this is the power of collective expertise. Traditional freelance actuaries work alone, while virtual actuary leverages peer review to ensure quality and scalability. The managers overseeing the teams. Scale. If you work alone, you can't have peer review. Teams of 2 to 10 actuaries collaborate, providing structured feedback and a second layer of validation. If you're a client, you want that. Doesn't mean that the team of 2 or 10 are working full time and we're charging the client for 10 people. They're only paying for 2 people or 3 people because that's all they need. But there's 2 other managers on the project for like 2 hours, 1 hour a week. The insight that they give to steer that team is as if you're hiring an entire team. Unbelievable. Unlike standard consulting firms, our system allows for dynamic teaming, ensuring availability and a skill matching for any project. Because now all of a sudden that team's been working on the client, now they talk about, the software that we bought into 7 years ago, it's not getting results, it's hampering what we want to do with the distribution channel, we don't know what to do. I know we hired you as actuaries, but so we're not actually actuary consultants. We're a management consulting firm. Give us your biggest problems. So we have a software dev team, engineers, completely non-actuaries, that know how to work with actuaries in banking and insurance. So now the one manager catches a hint that they actually want software. Ha! In comes Simon and Malan and his team. Cool. Now they sit in the one meeting. Thanks, Tina. We heard that you guys wanted some software. Tell us a little bit more about your problem. No problem, we'll sketch it out. We do a full proposal. That other project is still going, but now we're picking up business as a team. Everybody works together. Now the software development team springs into action, and they start laying out a project that's going to last a year. Now Hannes, who was the manager, he benefits from that team that is working, because he was the one that asked the client, can we solve some more of your problems? But Hannes is not a software developer, but he understands that he's working in a consortium, that if he can pick up work for the software development team, he will also share in some of that profit and revenue. Everybody starts to understand that their colleagues are part of an extension of them. If we do that correctly, I'm the marketing guy, I do software, I do the bookkeeping, I do the payments, I do the legal sort of compliance, checking stuff, engaging with the outsourced lawyer, engaging with the accountants. Everybody in the consortium plays their part, of course, according to their skill. Okay, so clients gain confidence knowing that their projects benefit from expert oversight without inflated consulting firm costs. And we are back from commercial break.
Yeah,
back everybody.
Love the commercial break.
Okay, so just to refocus, why are we talking about a mega gig economy? It's because you either work in a company where you're a team leader, or you want to start a business, let's say. If you're a team leader, your goal is to try to lead a meritocracy where all of your team members are not salaried employees that are going to work whether they do good work or not, but rather you can try your best to steer that department so that everybody that's in your team is a participant that earns their keep. So whether you're changing the salary structure where people are being incentivized to work smarter and better and as work colleagues, it's a sort of a mini mega gig economy. Okay, where it's not just salaries, you're incentivizing other team members to participate. And you're not just blowing money. And on the other side, if you want to be a business owner, you don't want to have to hire salaried employees that are going to work whether there's output or not. You want to try and show people that if you incentivize them to do better, they will do even better, because then they're going to be invited into more projects. They're going to be a key member of the consortium, whatever their skill set is, whether they're an actuary or a data scientist or a software engineer. So that's why we're talking about the organized collaborative working mindset as being an incentivization model, same as Adrian incentivized people to live healthier, then you get better premiums on your healthcare. We're incentivizing people to work better, work smarter, be better work colleagues, so that they will do better in the end. Okay. Because it's smarter and it's more new age. So, the nurturing system scaling through mentorship. Scaling through mentorship, which is what we discussed earlier. Traditional firms struggle with talent retention as nurtured juniors get poached by competitors. Of course they do. Because they're not getting paid that much, they're not learning that much. So you spend all this time nurturing people and then they leave. Okay? At Virtual Actuary, seniors share a percentage of their earnings with the juniors sometimes. creating a built-in incentive to mentor. So if that junior that I'm overseeing does brilliantly, it's not just part of my management function, but I actually share in the revenue and the profit when they're doing well. I'm incentivized to nurture. Beautiful concept. This approach allows professionals to scale beyond their individual workload, ensuring continuity even if they step back. That's what we discussed earlier. A culture of shared growth and responsibility ensures that both seniors and juniors succeed together. I mean, it sounds like I'm painting the picture of Nirvana, isn't it? I mean, really, it's exactly what I'm doing. If you build a consortium in the mega gig economy, you should have Nirvana. You're working with great people, you're not overspending, clients are happy, you've got global clients, everybody's happy, it's a great work environment, you can work from home. You want to work in an office, go share a WeWork space if you want that vibe. It's a Nirvana, isn't it? Unfortunately, we all have to work. Nirvana is not sitting on the couch, playing with your kids. It actually gets boring. Work is life, but you want to make it as pleasant as possible. And you want to be a disruptor that takes all the market share compared to everyone else, because they are trying to steal your lunch, I assure you right now. Okay. Breaking free from traditional consulting firms. Conventional firms rely on employer-employee relationships, limiting flexibility and revenue sharing potential. The consortium model removes rigid hierarchies and instead rewards those who contribute the most to value. Not rocket science. Unlike traditional firms where revenue is concentrated at the top, Virtual Actuary ensures that earnings flow directly to those doing the work. Our system allows actuaries and engineers to grow their own teams, benefiting from annuity income streams without the overheads of running a solo practice. So I'm saying all the same stuff.
A quick question on this. So gig economy by nature is precarious. I'm trying to understand if you have somehow managed to de-risk that. So if I don't work, I don't get paid. So if I fall sick for 2 months, no salary. In
theory, if you don't work, you don't get paid. But for that risk, I'm paying you 82% of the money, or double or triple to what somebody else normally gets paid. You're like, I like double or triple. I'm a double or triple kind of guy. Cool.
So it's not for everyone.
Hold on a second. I'm going to pay you double or triple because you're a double or triple kind of guy. You want to earn double to your friends. But then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to bring in so much work that you never left without work.
No. Life happens, I fall sick for 2 months. What happens?
So, this is how it works. It's a great question. Life happens to you. But life that happens to you shouldn't have to infringe on Tina and her family. So Tina is part of your team as well. You've also got deliverables. So if you're sick, if it happens once in a blue moon, life happens. The team will band together. Life happens. We will cover for you. And we do it a lot. Life happens. Brother passes away. Parents are sick. Family members in a car accident, whatever. They can't work. Life happens. We will pull for you. Don't worry about that. We'll make sure you still get money. Don't let it happen too much. Because then life doesn't happen. Then what happens is you're taking advantage of the team who has to do your work for you when you're not here. In that scenario, you're not a salaried employee where the rest of the team is stuck with you. Hey, she's always sick. Hate this. I'm going to resign. That's what happens at other firms. With us, you get invited into the next project. But if the team hated working with you because he is always sick, Then the next time there's a team meeting about the next project, who should we invite into the team? You just get excluded. So it is a self-governing system. Those who abuse the system are not invited to push on with the team. Self-governing. Life happens. But if life happens too much for you, we're not there to be stuck with you. That's how it works. Not to be too harsh, but it's my job to protect the whole team. When you come to me and you say, what's going on here? I say, don't worry. We're not forced to invite them into the next project.
Adi, will they then just eventually just fall away?
So
by default. I mean, how many times does that happen?
It doesn't happen that often, but it has happened on 1 or 2 occasions. Okay. Where
out of 80 or 60 people.
Yeah, 65. So what over 7 years. So what happens is the client doesn't like working with us. They fire us. It never happens. But it's happening with this person. So then in that case, I can say to them, according to the contract, we brought you in because we had a contract with the client. You came in. We didn't hire you as a salaried employee. We hired you because we had a contract, a landing spot for you. That client fired us. I don't have that landing spot for you anymore. What must I do? I don't have the landing spot. Not my fault you stuffed it up.
As a business, are you taking some insurance cover for period of time or to cover at least to reduce the rates? Because at the moment it sounds like it's gig economy. It has the same realities.
So no, we're all in. There's no insurance. We just have to make sure we bring the right people in.
The healthy people, younger people.
Not just healthy. Life happens. Life happens. But don't forget. You want to join the business. You want to join the consortium. Okay? It's not fair for us. It's not fair for us if somebody now starts having health problems. It's like at a certain point, we can only carry you so far. So at a certain point, don't forget this model is not for everyone. It's a great color. This model is not for everybody. If somebody feels that maybe an employer-employee lifestyle that has no risk is better for them, cool. But they're only going to get so when they're sitting at a coffee with their friend, and they have risk-free employment. But your friend is earning 3 times as much as you because he's taking a bit of a risk. It's a fair trade-off. I'm paying triple. I expect you to carry some of the risk.
And they can take their own retirement annuity plan, income protection plan, whatever it is. That's their decision.
Exactly.
He doesn't carry that.
Exactly.
He doesn't administer it. That's not his issue. But you can make those decisions.
Exactly.
Right.
I'll pay you enough that you can get your own cover. Okay, so please go ahead.
I'm not sure if I've missed the detail, but I just wanted to understand, why do you leverage this operating model as opposed to something like Upwork, where you get the jobs and then whoever has the capacity to take on the job takes it? Because for me, looking at this call, it seems like very inhumane. I know that's how a lot of management consultants firms work. If you don't do well, you get benched and then you leave. But you also aren't giving your employees the full cover, like a full-time employee, right? So why not just free them up, make them freelancers, and let them just pitch for the work that they want, and then you still have resources?
I'll tell you, it's a great question. I'll tell you why. Firstly, if it was like Upwork, the biggest mining company or the biggest reinsurer in the world is not going to be going to Upwork on a multi-million-dollar project where they need 10 people full-time for 3 years. Okay? The Upwork is very small time. Okay. Little projects, one person, it's very transactional. Need one person to do this. They don't want to deal with 10 freelancers. As a consortium of freelancers, we want those big projects. Why? Because there's continuity of work. You know, imagine 15 clients that size. You're set for life. As long as you do a good job. Okay? It's not like, hey, I'm hustling for work. Hey, the client gave the request, I pitched for it, but this person in a different country is charging 100 Rand an hour. I can't even buy milk for 100 Rand an hour. I can't compete with. So what happens is those freelance platforms start competing on ridiculous price. So then they get ridiculous quality. We're not in that game. We're in the elite consulting firm business. We take on the hugest projects, and in essence, we replace their staff that work full time in their company. We become an extension of their business. We run those departments for them. That's the kind of work we want. So a freelancer that joins us in the family will have access to those humongous clients and total ongoing work, working in a team. But you need to be a team player.
You sound like you're like an agency then, like Sachi and Sachi, or like Two Stories. Sounds like the same thing, because they pitch like multinationals, right?
It's an identical business model. It is your typical consulting firm model. The only reason we can pitch for those humongous projects is because the model itself is your typical consulting firm model. The only difference is that the participants are not salaried employees who work like salaried employees, whether the project is a success or not. Everybody is invested in the success. Now, you want a team member because there's a delivery Monday morning, 9 o'clock. You want a team member who's going to work with you on the Sunday to deliver, because that helps you. What you don't want is, I'm feeling well today. I don't know if I can make it. Life happens. I promise you now, if you're an elite professional, you do not want people on your team that have excuses. We're elite. It's not for everyone. It is cutthroat. It is. That's why we're the largest consulting firm in the country. Because we hire the best of the best, but we also pay them 3 times as much as everybody else. Business is harsh, cutthroat. Go to those fancy restaurants, see what they charge you for a hamburger. You don't rock up and say, I can get the same burger over there for 55 Rand, why are you charging me 650? Because we put special scent in the air when you walk in, we spray you with Christian Dior. That's the experience. It's not for everyone. But it's not a fair is fair scenario. You can't compare the one with the other. It's different. Okay, cool. All right. All right. Virtual Actuary is the future of actuarial consulting. Clients benefit from cost-effective, high-quality actuarial teams without paying the traditional consulting firm markups. Actuaries work flexibly while earning significantly more than traditional corporate salaries. I actually knew you were going to say that. I'm psychic. This pretty much solves, it says everything. The system fosters, love this, almost like written, I promise you we're not working together. The system fosters innovation, collaboration, and efficiency, making it a blueprint for professional services firms beyond actuarial science. This collaborative model is scalable across industries, accounting, law, engineering, proving that independent professionals can compete with legacy firms. Dun, 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 dun.
Quick question.
That was a great question, and that finale summed it all up.
Coming up here.
Well timed.
I think there's certain industries where it is better conceived and focused than other industries in the professional services space. That's my opinion, everybody.
concept will make it possible to other industries. Because it's not the first time we've heard this. We had a Deloitte consultant that spoke to us, partner that came to speak to us last year, and he did that just after COVID. And so what he did is he took his own team, and he chose his own team, but it was very individual. So they were younger, older, from different places, and he started doing exactly what you're doing, but in accounting, and was able to offer firms like 16 million as opposed to what they would pay big companies 120 to 80 million. So it definitely worked. But I think what the thing is if you have a central agent that controls quality, because that's really what it is. So you can take it to medicine, and a central agent that will choose your anaesthetist, choose your assistant, choose your surgeon, and then run the whole service as a centralized service. So I think you can take it to other.
100%. You need the central agent.
Yes.
What you need, this is not a group of people that work together and it's messy. It's an organized collaborative, not just a collaborative. You need that central agent that maintains the quality, making sure that if somebody's not well, I will pay out of my own pocket to support you. You're a very valued participant. If I have to, we don't want to lose you. But it's very organized, because if we do it in an organized way, then the end result is that, you need a centralized agent. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Okay. So we've zipped through some of the slides. We've spoken about the mega gig economy. Now, the one thing that brings this all together is the mindset. Firstly, we haven't spoken about specifically flash teams. Another hot topic. So what the teams that work within a mega gig economy is known as are flash teams. So they're scalable teams. So within the organized collaborative, you have these flash teams. Client comes in, we get there in a flash, we scale it up, we scale it down, we're quite fluid, and then like a flash we leave. Now all it takes is that project takes a totally different route, and we need a team of like 5 software engineers that we don't have in-house. Now the one senior manager who's a software dev says, I've actually got my brother and his friends. We were just working on a project like this. Let's bring them in. They can be the one part of it. They will be my flash team that I'll manage. Tina, that's a great idea. Let's set it up. So they become like an extension of the main flash team. But they're part of the Virtual Actuary consortium, but they're a smaller flash team that helps the bigger flash team, which is the main flash team to the client without them having to hire a full-time team. So flash teams is actually what brings this whole thing together. It's the mindset. It's like you're a flash team, but it's not a you come in and you leave scenario. It's like sort of like a mafia. Like once you're in, the team has fallen in love with you. The team wants to work with you. The team wants to grow with you. You can't tease us like that. Now you come in and we're working with you and the client digs you, and now you're like, sorry guys, I'm done, I'm out. But if there's another project, let me know. What are you talking about? We just pitched to like Google Insurance and we closed the deal. You're supposed to be available. What do you mean you don't want to work with us anymore? It's not a sort of mom and pop shop that you can come and go. We just secured the biggest contract in the world. Now you're leaving. So once you start working, if you want to leave, you don't get allowed back in. Because we could never pitch for that kind of professional work unless the people that were in the consortium were reliable. Now, of course, if you want to set some boundaries up front, that's cool. You only want to work 50% of your time. Okay, cool, we get it. Then we know that from a resource planning perspective. But you cannot have a situation where people just come and go. It's very organized, yeah?
What are the promotional structures within that arrangement? Do workers then progress from one level to another level? And how do they negotiate their salaries as they get in? Do you dictate the salary, or they tell you, I want so much.
Yeah, it's a great question. So it is a meritocracy. You will merit to progress. So let's say you're working in the team, you're doing phenomenal work. Now a client comes in and you know, it's clearly obvious you should be the manager. So as a management team, the work that you currently have on the go, we will bring somebody else who also wants to move into a new project, and they will take over a lot or some of the work that you're doing at the one client. You will still oversee them because from a key person perspective, you understand that client, and so does somebody else. So there isn't too many one key person. But that frees you up to be the manager of this humongous project in Singapore. You've earned the right. You've merited the right to be the manager. Now, at this client, we're paying you 1,200 or 1,300 Rand an hour, whatever it is, where everyone else is paying 600. Okay? But this client, the Rand is weaker, and we're charging out of 2,500 Rand an hour. So you know what? Guess 2-2. Amazing. We discuss it. We're not here to rip you off. The last thing I want is to charge 2.5 and you're still getting paid 1.2. You find out about that. Hey, bro, thought this is a fair, I thought this was shared. Supposed to enjoy the success together. If we get the bigger clients with the bigger paying fees, you will make more money, and then make more money, make more money, make more money. So you grow, and it's not a salary. You make commission of whatever we charge out. So that's how it works. Yeah. Okay.
Just a quick one.
So sorry, he was first, and then I'm going to move to Jan.
Mine's just a quick one. Does the management team find the clients, or do you expect the consultants to find their own clients?
It's a good question. So both. The management team finds the client, but if you find the clients, we'll split the profit with you, even though you're not working on that client.
But aren't you already splitting the profit?
Damn right.
Yeah, so either way you're splitting the profit.
Well, we're splitting the profit with who initially?
Well, you said you revenue share if you're a consultant. So if you bring in, as management, bring in a client, you revenue share. But you just said if the consultant...
You'll get more of... So if you bring the client in, you get more of the split. You've earned it. You brought that client in. I'm bringing that client in. If you just become a manager on that project, I'll take much more of the profit. But you're a manager, so you're splitting the profit on the team.
And then just a follow-up on that. So, because we know that commission earners, quite well known, commission earners are very money hungry, money driven.
Yeah.
And if you, as management, bringing on all these clients, and you're just pushing them onto the consultant, don't you think eventually they'll burn out?
No, we keep our mental health issue very, very important. So don't forget, this isn't a washing machine system where you are forced and we're chasing like targets for the shareholders. Your mental health is more important than that.
So what would be a KPI for your consultants?
The KPI is, so we don't follow KPIs. The KPI is the quality of your work matching our expectation of your quality of work. Okay? If it exceeds that, we'll pay you more. We'll also then be able to charge more for you, because the quality of your work matches our request to charge more for you. Okay? And when it comes to the mental health thing, we will rather try to force you not to take on so much work. Okay, so because we don't want you to burn out. It's not healthy for you, it's not healthy for us, it's not healthy for the team. So there's a lot of sensitivities. Sorry, he was first?
Yeah, I was just trying to think around the whole aspect of retaining your employees, with respect to, again, going back to culture. I don't know how it works here, but in Kenya, you talked about you hiring only highly skilled or the best employees, right? So in Kenya, what is perceived to be the best? What are perceived to be the best employees, rather? You'd find them more in an 8 to 5 kind of setup.
A what?
An 8 to 5 kind of setup.
Okay.
Meaning they're what we refer to as permanent and pensionable.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to.
No, don't forget that most of the people in our business
yes.
were full-time employees before. Mm-hmm. We had this work that landed. I then phoned you. I said, Alan, I've known you for 10 years. In my opinion, you're the creme de la creme, my friend. What's your salary? 1.5 a year? Cool. I'll make it, as a starting point, because we'll build up to it, we'll make it 2.5.
Yeah,
it's not double or triple immediately, but I will make it 2.5. If we look at the hourly rate, you're currently on 1,000, I'll make it 1.4. Okay?
Yes.
But you need to resign tomorrow to join us. But I've got enough work for you for the next year.
Yeah, so that's the thing now. I talked about culture.
Yeah.
So in our culture, guys don't want to be secure for 1 year. Guys want to be secure for the next. They're thinking about mortgages, they're thinking about long-term loans and whatnot. And just going back to the same. Referring to this. I'm trying to rephrase the question. Sorry about that. I'm a bit tired. But I'm enjoying the lecture. But I'm learning a lot, and I'm trying to just connect.
So I'll tell you what happens with the culture.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what happens.
Because guys, so I remember. Because guys in Kenya will double hat. They will probably try to do their 8 to 5, especially if they have a flexible kind of job and still want to do that job. And they'll try to do it, and probably they'll probably pull it off. Yeah, but the problem is there's fatigue, and meaning there's reduction of performance and optimization.
So what happens is, firstly, we don't hire anybody that works somewhere else. Okay? Because
how do you validate that? How do you know?
Well, fraud. You work full time with us. Yeah. If we pick up that you can't rock up at a meeting, why? Why is he not available?
So let me give you an example.
Okay.
A simple example. My example. I work an 8 to 5. I work several places. That's another story, long story. But long story short.
Yeah.
I work an 8 to 5, right? I got a consultancy whereby I had to show up a couple of hours, let's say for 2 weeks, right? So what I did, I just structured my meetings. You can't see me. I'm
no, don't worry.
Right?
Nothing gets past us. Nothing gets past us.
Yes.
We hire people. They're available from the morning till the evening. If we even get a sense that someone's doing something on the side, we terminate like that. There's no wangling. There's no the team relies on you. So that's the first thing. Okay, everyone that's here, it's honest. All actuaries, they don't want to be involved in lying and fraud, and so they're not going to do that stuff. Okay? When it comes to culture, they want to be secured work, and I'll tell you what happens. I'm gonna try and say this in a simple way, but it's not difficult. It's not easy to pull off. Alan, you need to change the culture, my friend.
Yeah.
You need to build a business that brings in so much work, that is so successful, where people are not earning salaries. That when the people that work in your business catch up with people that they used to work with, and they are earning triple, and they tell their friends, this is my story, that story is so impactful. It's not lies, it's the truth.
Yeah.
That you change the culture, you change your market, and the norm, your industry standard becomes the standard, and everybody else looks greedy and like they're using an old model. And that's what we do. So it's not easy to pull up.
A follow-up question. So it's a burning question.
Sure.
So the thing is this.
Another job, going to be easy.
Another job altogether. So we have this startup, like I talked about with my friend, and one of the challenges we face with respect to what you just said is that when we try to basically we are remote, and actually we were thinking of what you said earlier, which is a very good thing about getting a co-working space, because of many guys who want to come and see something. But irrespective of that, what we face is we would heavily rely on people who already have jobs. So assuming we get a job, right? We heavily rely on someone like, let's say, I get Zenle to come in. It's a technology firm. Zenle and Lufuno to come in. Possibly double hat and do a job.
So you rely on them because they're working somewhere else.
Yes, and the reason is this. Because when you go for the independents, they're very expensive.
No, I understand.
So for a startup, it's very difficult.
So what you do is you rely on them initially, and as soon as you start gaining some momentum and some power, you ditch that philosophy. So in the early days, you're scrambling. You're scrambling. You're building a robot from a scrap heap. But as soon as you get a little bit of momentum, you drop that. And you do it the way it should be done. Initially, we're all hustling. We're all selling apples initially. Yeah.
Just building on what Ellen was asking, most of us have side hustles, right? But I mean, it's not really formalized, and you have your 8 to 5. Does that count as,
Yeah,
I don't know, like as employment if I've got other interests that are generating, additional income streams for me, and I have like a formal permanent employment? Do you also factor in all the other things that I'm doing on the side?
Yeah. So let's not forget, building, in a strategic entrepreneurship MBA course, the goal is 10 to 15 years away. The pot of gold is 10 to 15 years away. What you are learning here are the principles that are going to help you get there. Right? So if you want to be the employee forever, then everything I'm saying today is going to help you to be a better team leader within your business where you're an employee. But if you want to be a business owner, somewhere along the line, you're going to need to resign and move over to that as your full-time job, business. What I'm saying is when you do that, you plan it in such a way that when you open that business, you're saving money, you're bringing people into the business that aren't salaried employees, you're doing all the business principles that I'm talking about, you're correct. So that when you eventually resign from your job and that new business takes over, you're not stuck with salaried employees who don't work perfectly and you're spending all the money, so that your likelihood of success is higher. So that could take 3 years. Then you build the business, another 3, 4, 5 years. You're now 8, 9 years down the line. Once you're 10 years in from today, or 15 years in, let's look back and say, are some of those principles that we discussed, did they help you get to a point where you are a sustainable business that is surviving? So nothing happens overnight.
I think what I was just trying to get to was whether your team of actuaries have other income streams that are not official.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now, it's a great question. Some of them want to open a little business, Udemy Academy. They want to teach. But we're doing it within the virtual actuary system. It's a little side business within the business. Because as they grow that little side hustle, it's part of the consortium. Let them tap into some of the other actuaries that also want to teach on Udemy. We all succeed together. Those side hustles become our family side hustle.
See. So you're saying
we all grow together.
The side hustles with the person because you're paying triple or double.
No, it's because we're growing together. So the only reason why you can do those side hustles is because we've lifted you up as a team. Now you've learned something. Now you want to desert us. We're not in the deserting business. So I want to just one quick question, then we're going to move over to Paris Hilton. Paris, guys. Paris is waiting.
I'm really interested in the model, and which is the complexity of the contracting.
Yeah.
Because you've mentioned a couple of the levers or variables that would I'm a consultant as part of the consortium would allow me to earn a greater proportion of the fees that come in. So if I move up into a management level, or you said if I'm, the KPI, so to speak, if I perform above the expectation of me, or if I bring on a client, in all those cases you said I could earn a greater proportion of the fees that come in. So how do you sort of manage that as a project comes in? How do you actually contract? Like if we have, let's say, 4 people who work on a 10 million rand contract, and you've got a split, let's say, equally between them. And then the next contract, one person brings it in, one person moves up a management level, another person, 2 people perform above expectations. If you're working on a sort of proportion basis with an absolute fee amount coming in, how do you actually manage that sort of practically in a way that's sort of incentive compatible for everyone involved?
It's a great question. So, how we split the revenue, who do we put on the work, how do we sketch the whole thing out, Who gets incentivized by earning commission on other people that they're nurturing? How do you work the resource planning? It is extremely complicated. Thank God I don't have to do that. Okay? Our co-CEO Johan has built the most sophisticated actuarial models you will ever see. It's all gibberish to me, I promise you. But it is. So how did Vitality build their "we'll make people happier" a healthier model? Actuaries building models, very complex crossover type scenarios where people are incentivized by it's actuaries. It's very, very, very complicated. So we've taken all of that stuff. We have our tools that we have to run our management consulting firm. We're building that out. Besides for the insurtech and the fintech software that we have deployed at clients, we have a separate tool that we've spent 6-7 years building called Mega Gig. And it is your white label product that once it is launched officially, it will have the dashboards that allow you to put all the variables in and just gives you the answer.
Just a quick follow-up. I mean, so if I were to come on as a consultant, is it sort of quite transparent to me? I guess my concern would be to come on and feel like, well, my potential earnings are not only, in fact, you know, as a result of my own sort of performance and my own commitment to consulting, but potentially also as a result of who I'm sort of.
So
that
that
I guess it's
no.
just
So that's what's
transparent.
very transparent. It's very transparent. So that's where the whole fairness thing comes in. Remember, I said at the beginning, if it's not fair, there's favoritism. You're going to be disheartened. You're not going to want to work where you're seeing that you're doing all the work, you're nurturing. You're not getting benefit from that. That's where the whole fairness thing comes in. That's where there's no favoritism. It's very difficult to pull this whole thing off. But if you do it correctly, you will realize that there's no favoritism, that it's a meritocracy. You've earned the right to earn on this and that, and you're going to be like, oh, they get me. I love this. So fair, there's no favoritism. Because favoritism and politics destroys the momentum of a team that grows and builds and grows and builds, because you lose all the good people. Not on my watch. Okay, we're going to move over to Paris. Okay, it's a very difficult question to answer, but we've sketched it out, yeah. Okay, so one of the reasons why the mega gig economy, and we're going to come back to, works, is because it is the gig economy that started the whole thing. Instead of being an employee, you're an influencer. You're a gig economy person. You're the best designer anybody ever met. I'll go on to Upwork. Can't you see? Look at my portfolio. Look at my fans. The original influencer, Paris Hilton. Actually, the original influencer. So we have moved away from the corporate brand world, and we've moved into the you as a brand world. So within the you as a brand world, where influencers are able to take their skills and ability and show the world by having merited the fans. I'm the best actuary in the country, I'm the best designer, I'm the best engineer, okay, or very, very high. When people see my work, when people see my content, they will follow me. So what happens is within the gig economy, if you can find those independent actuaries and bring them into the mega gig, then what happens is their influence will rub off on the teams that they manage, who will swear allegiance to them. Because it's fair. I want to be a superstar actuary. I want to learn from you. You are the brand. I don't care what the company's called. I want to work with you and your team. Let's go get some clients. Here's the clients. Cool. Let me teach you. So the influencer gig economy person earns their right to grow within the mega gig and become a manager, and then a super manager, and then a partner. But it's instant.
Would you not say that this is rather like ambassadorship? Because if you're talking about content creators like influencers, right? they're standalone entities. But in your structure, they are ambassadors because they come and they make work and they win business. But they have to operate in your structure. They aren't independent.
I promise you right now, Paris has got, over the years, teams of younger influencers that she oversees.
Doing what to them? Growing her own brand.
No, growing all the product, growing their own brand, but they're pushing Paris's brand.
They work for her. They aren't independent.
Well, they're not salaried employees, and they're growing their own fan base. It's not like they, work for Paris's fan base. They're growing their own fan base. They're becoming influencers in their own right. But they're learning from the best. So she has signed them. So the best example.
Makeup by Mario, like the guy who does Kim Kardashian's makeup.
Yeah.
He now has his own makeup company.
Exactly.
Something like that, right?
Same thing. But instead of the people in the makeup company being salaried employees, he's saying to them, guys, look, while the going is going great, I can hire you on this project. I'm Kim Kardashian's makeup guy. We're doing the whole family. I'm not hiring you as a salaried employee, but I'm going to hire you as a gig economy commission earner. Here's the project. I can distribute all this work to you. Will you take it on without being a salaried employee? But if you do a cuck job, I'm not stuck with you. Is that fair? I'll pay you more than everybody else. Of course it's fair. Flash team. So him and his team are the flash team to Kim Kardashian, who hasn't gone to a makeup company, but they've gone to this guy. He's the brand. Exactly. Okay. That's the whole point. Flash teams. No. Sorry, I dig you, Alan, but we have to push on. I need to be responsible here. Okay. You are the brand. Don't rely on your employer's reputation, build your own. How many people don't do any social media marketing? They have no presence online whatsoever. They work a 9 to 5. They're an employee. They ride their bike on the weekend. They go fishing with their children. The company is the best. Look at the marketing department. All the zebras. Amazing. Yeah, look. And then what? Then there's a scandal in the business. Business goes bust. Merrill Lynch. Boom. Now what? I need to send my CV around. Because you did no branding of your own brand. It was all about the business's corporate brand. You have no presence online whatsoever. Go hand your CV out. Very 1980s. Whereas the person who did, they did talks, they were commenting, they were building a pipeline, they were involved, they built their own brand. Now the company goes bust. No problem, I'll reach out to Tom or Tina. They can see I'm the brand. I've added value to my own brand. Okay. Don't rely on your employer's reputation, build your own. Especially if you've got time. Business relationships are increasingly based on individuals, not companies. Make sure your name is associated with excellence in your field. It used to be big insurance company, reinsurer, bank does business with large consulting firm. Who does the work was inconsequential. They didn't know. The brand takes the reputational damage. Now that lady's been working with Tina. They phone, hi, can I speak to Tina? We got another large project. Oh, Tina doesn't work here anymore. Where does she work? She's at Virtual Actuary. Cool. Look. Hi, is that Virtual Actuary? Can I speak to Tina? Hey, Tina! It's Martine. Amazing. I've got this huge project. I heard you left that company. Yeah, cool. But I love working with you. Okay, cool. Just get your company to send me the documents. I'll just onboard you. I don't care what the company name is. I want to work with you and your team, wherever you are. Where Tina works is inconsequential. Tina is the brand. That's the world we're in at the moment. Okay? Your own digital presence. Optimize on LinkedIn. A little bit of a punt. Please find me on LinkedIn and connect with me. Adi Kaimowitz, ADI, and I'll give you a free apple. Optimize your LinkedIn and other social profiles. Be active and engaging. Why? Why are we talking about this stuff? It is because if you do this as your part of your life and you start to enjoy it as opposed to being forced by your boss, but it's actually part of your life, you are building the you as a brand. And if you are building the you as a brand, then one day, who knows, if you want to break away and form a consortium or a business, whatever it is, you're super connected. Because you have a brand, people know you. You're not just, I don't know anything about you other than that you work at R&B. I don't know anything else about you. Post consistently about your expertise. Don't just share corporate content. Share your own insights. You're not moonlighting, you're just an expert in your field. Of course, you have to be sensitive with your business's brand. What are we allowed to say? What are we not allowed to say? You have to follow the guidelines. You can't destroy the reputation of your employer. Avoid political rants. Stay professional, positive, and aspirational. You know, the truth of the matter is that this is a class about being a better business person. When you engage with people online, in Facebook, or in a business capacity on LinkedIn, what you're looking for is business connections. I want to do business with business people. I don't care about your religious or your political or your affiliations. I want to just do business with you, old school. But if you don't listen to what I'm saying, and you start talking politics and I hate Donald Trump and the orange man bad. Okay, cool, like I get it. That's fine. That's your opinion. I don't mind. But I've watched the awesome work you've done over the last couple of years. And I wanted to bring you into this humongous project, maybe even include you in our consortium. But all you're talking about recently is whether the helicopter crashed into the plane on purpose. What are you talking about? Like, you're destroying your business reputation. I can't touch you now. Because if I bring you in, now you're going to start talking about, like, I just want to work with business people. Be professional. Hold yourself to a higher standard professionally. Don't talk about politics or religion. You can with your friends on Facebook, whatever. Make sure your Facebook is closed. Because if somebody's looking to join our business, I will check out their LinkedIn, I will check out their Twitter, I will check out their Facebook. And if I see something there that's risky or dangerous, I'm not discriminating against you. It's risky. I'd rather choose someone else. I'm a professional. Business is harsh. You were saying earlier, it seems a bit harsh. I promise you now, reputational damage.
Yeah.
No one's going to coddle me when it all goes bad. You did the right thing. You stood up for what you felt was right. Thank you. I just lost my house. Come on. Okay. Authenticity and action matter. Don't just talk about values, live them. You want to help the poor? Go feed at a soup kitchen. Make it proper. Let people see, wow, what an amazing designer, what an amazing engineer, what a human being. Love that. If you stand for something, do something, volunteer, contribute, and show results. Build credibility through consistent, high-quality work and content. Right. Leverage social media and digital platforms. The future belongs to content creators, whether on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Start now. Your first post doesn't need to be perfect, but momentum is key. The barrier to entry for influence has never been lower, but competition is fierce. So, the fourth industrial revolution, why are we talking about influencers? What's the point? We're not gonna, we want to be influencers in our industry. If you're an engineer, a marketing person, an accountant, whatever it is, video production, whatever it is, well, don't become an influencer in how to make shoes. Become an influencer in your industry. Build a brand online in your industry. so that when people are looking to work with you, you have a presence online. Okay.
We're 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay. So, launch. So, the whole spiel today, as I said, we could go on for 5 hours. But, in order to survive and grow, we need to try not to do what the norm is. We need to try not to spend money unnecessarily. We need to try to work with people and tell them a great story that makes them want to join us. We don't want to get stuck with colleagues that are pulling us down. We don't want to have a normal business model. We have to try to adopt a concept I call breakthrough economics, which is in the way that you approach that part of your business, whether it's hiring people, whether it's how you treat people. Your way of doing it needs to be so much better than everybody else that it is a breakthrough. The business model is a breakthrough. Because if it is, potentially you have a little nugget there where when you want to launch your business, you don't just burn money. You don't just go get an investor who's going to give you the 2 million rand to keep you afloat and take 50% of the profit. You build it with revenue. You're not stuck with staff where you have to pay them salaries. First go get the work, then you bring the consultants in. If you do all of the stuff that I've tried to impart on you, you have the grit, you are willing to sell the apples, not you have the ability, you are willing, all these things, then potentially, when you launch your business, okay, potentially, it will survive for the first 3 years. That's the goal. Survive for the first 3 years. Try your best to interact with as many symposiums and conferences as possible in those 3 years. It's not perfect, but it might just be enough without spending any money to get some clients in that you can survive for those 3 years. Potentially, if you do it right and you bring the right people into the business and they all feel incentivized to grow the business, potentially you'll survive till the 4th year. And the 5th year, and the 6th year. And if it goes well, you could be a disruptor. Okay? And when other people try to copy you, they don't know all the stuff because all they see online is how much did you raise, what office space were you in. That's what they think makes a successful business. Let them go do that stuff. Okay? And in the 7th year, when they've been around for a year and they blew all the money and all the investors' money and they had everybody on salaries, and they're not going to survive. But you were focused. You were selling apples. It's not glamorous. It's not as fun as going overseas. And so, in the story of self-reliance, and this was the disruptor as a total outsider, the Lone Ranger. Story for another day. This is disruption, building a wall that is so high. Competitors, your principles are so strong. The competitors can't even compete. You're an actual disruptor. So the story was self-made and unstoppable. You're self-made because you networked yourself, you didn't spend the money, you brought people in, you weren't stuck with salaries. Everybody in the business is self-made. And if you do that together correctly, as a consortium, without people coming and going, potentially what could happen is you could become unstoppable. Okay? And if you do that correctly, you should be able to beat and outmaneuver the VC-funded firms. Because they're rushing for profit, they're rushing for return on investment, they're moving too quickly, they're hiring too many people that are salaried employees, the projects are dropping, there's no quality. If you do everything correctly, you could potentially be able to outmaneuver the VC-funded rivals. Let me know how it goes.